Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Tolu, and in this video we are going to be looking at 6 types of vaginal discharges and what they mean. So if you like what I have to say, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you have a comment for me, please leave it in the comment section. And if you have a topic you would like me to discuss sometime in the future, also leave it as a comment and I'll do my best to get to it as soon as I can. Without further ado, let's begin. So I think a good place to start is to define what vaginal discharge is. Vaginal discharge is fluid that is secreted by tiny glands in the vagina and the cervix. This fluid comes out of the vagina, and with it, it carries away dead cells and bacteria. So the fluid kind of keeps your vagina clean, and it also helps to keep your reproductive tract and your vagina healthy as well. It is normal for women to have vaginal discharge, but the thing about the vaginal discharge is that even normal vaginal discharge can change, especially with the woman's cycle. It can change in consistency, it can change in color, it can change in even the amount of discharge that the woman produces. For instance, women tend to produce more discharge when they are ovulating, or when they are sexually aroused, or even when they are breastfeeding. It's important for a woman to know exactly what her normal vaginal discharge looks like at different times in her cycle. But as a rough guide, I'm going to be explaining the kinds of changes to vaginal discharge that happen in a woman's cycle. From day 1 to day 5 of the menstrual cycle, a woman's vaginal discharge is usually reddish or bloody. And the vaginal discharge is this color because at that point in time, the woman is shedding her uterine lining. From day 6 to 14, which is usually after her period, the quantity of vaginal discharge that she produces usually reduces. From day 14 to 25, usually a few days before ovulation, the cervical mucus becomes thin and slippery. In fact, it has the appearance of egg whites. Then after ovulation, it then becomes whitish or maybe a bit yellowish, and then it becomes cloudy or sticky. From day 25 to 28, that's just before another period, cervical mucus lightens and then reduces in quantity. So this is just a rough guide for women out there as to how your normal vaginal discharge changes. Like I said earlier, it is important for women to know what their normal vaginal discharge is like, because when you do this, you'll be able to better identify when there's an abnormal change in this vaginal discharge. So now we are going to be looking briefly at what could possibly cause an abnormal vaginal discharge. There are so many things that can cause it, ranging from sexually transmitted infections like trichomoniasis, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, to even medication that the woman may be using, like birth control pills, antibiotics. The change may even be due to a medical condition like diabetes or cervical cancer. It can be due to lifestyle habits, like women who wash their vagina, who maybe flush water in there or give that place a scrub. Like I've said in many of my videos, the vagina cleans itself. It doesn't need to be cleaned. And interfering, which is what I would call cleaning the vagina, can increase your risk of developing an abnormal vaginal discharge. I would like to say this, that it's important to keep your vulva clean. Your vulva is the outer genitalia where you have your labia, your clitoris. That part you should clean with warm water. You can dip a cloth in warm water, squeeze it, and then clean. And if you want to use soap, it's best to use unscented soaps. Now that I've mentioned this, let's now go to the 6 different types of vaginal discharges that you should keep an eye out for. First we'll be looking at is a whitish discharge. For many women who experience whitish vaginal discharge, this is normal. Normal vaginal discharge, depending on the point in time in your cycle, can appear whitish in color. However, if you notice that the whitish vaginal discharge you are having is unlike your normal whitish vaginal discharge, let's say it appears to be a bit clumpy, appears to be thicker than usual, almost having an appearance of cottage cheese, and let's say it now comes with maybe vulvar redness or irritation, you are itching down there, or an abnormal unpleasant smell, in that scenario, that whitish discharge may actually be a yeast infection. Second type of vaginal discharge to keep an eye out for are yellowish or yellowish green vaginal discharge. If your vaginal discharge has a slight yellow color and there's no other symptom, that could be normal, because many women, even though it may be whitish, in some women it may actually have a slight tinge of yellow. However, if the discharge is a dark shade of yellow, or maybe yellowish green, or even green in color, for women who have these shades of color, they tend to have other symptoms like itching, a bad smell, or maybe change in the appearance of the vagina. Maybe there's a rash or redness. This most likely means that you have an infection, usually a bacterial infection like trichomoniasis. It can also mean that it's a fungal infection, a yeast infection. The third type of vaginal discharge is a reddish vaginal discharge. This could simply mean that it is due to menstruation. However, if this reddish vaginal discharge comes after you've seen your period, it could point to, say, cervical polyps or a cervical infection, especially in younger women. In women who are perimenopausal or postmenopausal, like for instance, women who have maybe not seen their period, maybe a year or more has passed since you last saw your period. If you now suddenly start having a reddish vaginal discharge, it's important to go see your doctor as soon as you can. In some cases, that may point to endometrial or cervical cancer. The fourth type of vaginal discharge we'll be looking at is a pinkish vaginal discharge. If this pinkish vaginal discharge happens shortly after sex, what it could mean is maybe the woman sustained tears or some form of vaginal irritation. Sometimes pinkish vaginal discharge could be due to implantation bleeding in the early stages of pregnancy. It could also be due to spotting, which may happen after ovulation, and could also be due to spotting before the woman sees her period. The fifth type of discharge we'll be looking at is a clear discharge. Clear discharge is usually normal. It tends to happen just before ovulation or if the woman is sexually aroused, and it could also happen in pregnancy. And the sixth type of discharge we'll be looking at today is a grayish discharge. Grayish discharge is almost always a problem. Grayish discharge is usually unhealthy, and it tends to point to bacterial vaginosis, especially if it comes with itching or vaginal irritation or redness or a strong fishy smell, which tends to be very noticeable after sex. So a grayish discharge, especially when it comes with all those other symptoms, tends to point to bacterial vaginosis. So now we've looked at these 6 possible types of vaginal discharge, some of which are normal, like the whitish could be normal, the clear one could be normal, even the one with a slight tinge of yellow could be normal, and also a reddish discharge around the time of your period could be normal as well. However, if you notice any of the other types that I've mentioned, especially with other symptoms, please go see your healthcare provider. Many of the possible underlying causes for these abnormal vaginal discharges can be treated, and some of them even require early treatment to get the best possible results, especially the ones that may point to endometrial cancer, cervical cancer, which tends to happen more in women who are postmenopausal. But the general rule of thumb, which applies to all abnormal vaginal discharges, to please don't self-medicate. Don't say, oh, this looks like what my friend had, so I'm going to use the medication she used. Please have it checked by your healthcare provider. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you found this useful, please leave a like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can also leave a comment to encourage me, or if you have constructive criticism, that's welcome as well. If you have a topic you would like me to discuss in the future, also leave it as a comment and I'll do my best to get to it. But until my next video, bye.